Shalom, welcome to Rob on the Rock. Here we are, day 18 of March through Mishlei. Today we're going to look at Proverbs 18, verse 17, one of the verses in the Bible that I think has been mistranslated the most. And I think it's because translators have been lazy, and I'll show you why that is. What we see here is the verse, if you look in your Bible, at Mishlei or Proverbs 18:17, you'll see something like this. The NASB says, the first to plead his case seems right until another comes and examines him. But you'll see the seems is in italics, and the until is in italics. The ESV, for example, is the same. The one who states his case first seems right until the other comes and examines him. Again, ESV and NASB both supply the words seems right and until. Another example, a common English Bible, the first person to testify seems innocent until the other comes and cross-examines him. I would like it if you watch this video and your translation is along those lines. Please paste it in the comments. I'd like to see. We're looking at Proverbs 18, verse 17. And does it contain the word seems and until? Guess what? Not in the Hebrew. This is one of those ruts in a translation where the translators make it mean something in their translation, or they impose a meaning rather on the text that's not actually there. And I want to talk about that today. So the word here beginning is tzaddik, and the whole line is here. It's tzaddik harishon berivo. That's the A line. The B line has a correcative here. It could be read one of two things. It could be yavo, like this, or the way they vocalize it is they put a vav, they put a vav, uva, like this, with a kamatz, uva. So it could be yavo or uva. Either way, it's not that big of a deal. It's the same verb. Yavo is just like let him come, that is neighbor, where uva is he will come, and he will come. I'll put an and here, and he will come. Okay, not a big deal breaker in terms of meaning. But so the first line, tzaddik harishon berivo. The tzaddik, the righteous one, is the first, harishon. Rishon means first, is the first berivo, in his account, or in his case, or in his complaint, something like that, in his need for justice. Okay, the tzaddik is rishon, berivo, in his riv. Then it says, if we go with the Masoretic, it's uva re'ehu v'hakaro. His neighbor will come and search him out, and he will search him. That's it. And his neighbor will come and he will search him. So it's like, what does this mean? Well, the traditional English translations, as I've shown you, the NASB, the first to plead his case seems right until. So the idea is the tzaddik then, in all these readings, in all these Christian Bibles, the tzaddik is not really a tzaddik. He only seems to be a tzaddik. Why? Because the other person hasn't examined him yet. It's only when the other person comes and examines him is it shown that he's not really right after all. I've had people quote this verse to me, and sadly they don't know Hebrew either. Tzaddik harishon, the problem is with all these English translations is tzaddik throughout Proverbs. The word tzaddik is never with a definite article. It's never ha-tzaddik. It's always tzaddik, or in the plural, tzaddikim. It's always a righteous person. The tzaddik in Proverbs is always a tzaddik in God's eyes. It never seems. So there is no seems here. That's why at least in the NASB, not in the ESV, but in the NASB, at least they put seems in italics, and then until in italics. It's because they're forcing this interpretation on the text. And so what it means is the righteous one, the tzaddik, is first in his cause. It means he's the first to stand for what is right. It means he is the first to stand in integrity. He is the one who is prepared. He is the Rishon. The righteous is not ashamed of his account. That's what it means. The neighbor who comes, the second person, and whether it's chachelro and the neighbor searches the righteous one out, or is v'chachelro, it's the neighbor searching the righteous out, or the righteous correcting the neighbor, is secondary. The point is the tzaddik is in integrity, is not ashamed of his account, and he stands strong from the beginning. He's the first to take a stand. That's what this means. The righteous does not avoid standing up. That's what this is about. And if you think that I could be wrong, well, check it out. Let's look at the ancient Greek translation of this. Now, this is the Brenton translation. There's a newer translation, the NETS, that you can find online. I just grabbed the Brenton. It's from the 19th century. A righteous man accuses himself at the beginning of his speech. Well, what does that mean? A righteous man accuses himself at the beginning of speech, but when he has entered upon the attack, the adversary is reproved. So the ancient Greek, now this is just a rendering in English, but it's a great English translation. I know Greek, I've looked at the Greek, but the point is, what the ancient Greek also recognizes is the righteous is truly the righteous. It's not seems, but what it means, he accuses himself. It means he scrutinizes himself first. The righteous scrutinizes his own position. And as someone to scrutinize his own position, he stands strong and is ready for people to come and to question him. And the righteous, when he has entered upon the attack, the adversary, that is the one, here is translated from re'ehu, which can mean his neighbor or his friend or his accuser, is the one who's reproved, not the righteous. So in the ancient Greek, there is no seems, there is no until. Those verbs or words, helper words, seems and until, are not in the Hebrew. This is one of the most crazy wrong translations that is throughout almost, I don't know of one English translation that gets this right. Finally, there's the Vilna Gaon, who is a famous rabbinic sage from the late 17th and early, or actually late 18th, early 19th century. And he's a Jewish rabbi who gives a similar interpretation. He has a little midrash about it, but then he says, here it says, starting right here, Afal pi shedome be'anecha, even although it seems in your eyes that his words are strange, shedevarav zarim, even though this is explaining the proverb from this rabbi's perspective, and he is one of the major rabbis, interpreters for what we think of the Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox tradition. Even though the righteous man's words seem strange in your eyes, it says chachiram, which means search them out, v'tir'eh, and you will see shenechonim heim, that they are right or they are correct, v'yesharim, and they are proper. So even in the rabbinic world, we have the tradition of reading this text where the tzaddik, it's not seems, but he's actually indeed a tzaddik. He's a tzaddik indeed. He does not seem to be righteous. He is a tzaddik. And the problem is not that he is presumptuous, but that the people who are listening to the tzaddik they don't understand. And so they inquire and then they learn. So that's why the Vilna Gaon says, even if in your eyes his words, it says shedvarav zarim, that his words seem strange to you, Search them out, and you will see that they are proper and they are upright. And this is exactly what Yeshua teaches in so many places. We learn this even in the epistles. For example, 2 Timothy 2:15, what does Paul tell Timothy? Be diligent to present yourself approved to God as a worker who does not need to be ashamed, accurately handling the word of truth. Show yourself approved. That means you're ready, right? 1 Peter, so that was Paul to Timothy, but what does Peter write? Sanctify Messiah as Adonai, as God, in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, with gentleness and respect. Be ready. That is the tzaddik harishon. That means the righteous is ready, is first. In James 5, he says, you've heard of the endurance of Job and have seen the outcome of the Lord's dealing. So Job is the same thing. Job is righteous, and he stands in his integrity throughout the whole book of Job. And he has one after another these, quote, re'im, these friends, so-called, who come to him and try him and accuse him, and he holds his ground. And who in the end does God vindicate? He says, Job, they should have listened to Job. Instead, they were giving false theology. Job was the tzaddik harishon. He was the berivo. He was the righteous man who was first in his claim. And of course, Yeshua tells us, if you're not that way, you have to be that way to be righteous. That means the righteous they take the plank out of their own eye first. That's why in the Sermon on the Mount, Yeshua says, take the speck out of your own eye. Or take the log out of your own eye. Then you can help someone with the speck in their eye. It's the hypocrite. It's not the righteous who avoids the log in their own eye. That's the hypocrite. He says, you hypocrite, take the log out of your own eye. Then you'll see clearly. So our proverb here is about the righteous, the tzaddik here, as it says, who is the first in his claim. That means he's ready to take a stand. He's ready to give an answer for the hope that is in him, as it says. He, as Paul wrote to Timothy, has studied to show himself approved, etc. We see it in the reading of the ancient Greek. It was along the same lines that the tzaddik is indeed the tzaddik, just as he is throughout all the Proverbs. No seems here, no until here. And as we saw even on the rabbinic side, outside the Christian tradition, well, to be fair, the ancient Greek translation is before Christianity also. So it's the representative of a Greek-Jewish tradition before the Christian era. And finally, the Vilna Gaon, right? That even what it's telling us is that even if we don't understand the words of the righteous, we need to search them out, because we will learn that they are good and they are true. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called a tzaddik. So throughout the Proverbs, the tzaddik is the tzaddik. The righteous is the righteous person. So cross that out. Cross the bad translations out of your Bible. But if you like, I'd love to see in the comments, you can just cut and paste the translations that you've encountered from your English Bibles of Proverbs 18, verses 17. All right. Shalom.